Today we embark on a journey back in time to the year 793 AD, the age of the Vikings. Plundering on their longships, they caused havoc across Europe, mounting raids in their never-ending search for gold and silver. But what gave this godly society the muscles and energy to mount such devastating attacks? Good food, of course. From dried fish to giant hunks of meat, today we'll be cooking 7 days of Viking food. And at the end of the video, we'll find out if I have the strength to row all the way from Viking Scandinavia to England, just like they did during a raid, then have an eating challenge to see if I can eat as much as a real Viking. Let's get started. Starting off on day one, we're making the iconic Viking superfood, skyr. Now, skyr is a very high protein Viking, essentially yogurt, and it does include a whole bunch of milk. Now, we could use store-bought, but we gotta be a bit more authentic. All right, Daisy, get in position. Oh, that is good stuff. We have our freshest of the freshest whole milk, and we'll add to our bread maker to ferment. We'll add our milk, our starter culture to begin that fermentation process. And we want to recreate that sour taste, so we're gonna let this go for 20 full hours. And just like that, it has been 20 hours and our skyr is right around the halfway point. Not gonna lie, I'm a little scared to see what we got going on in here. Oh, that does not smell great. Quite yeasty. It's like curdled cottage cheese. Now I'll just gently move it over to our cheesecloth. I've decided we are just going to dump this entire thing in. Ooh. The idea is to slowly let this drain, removing all that whey from the solids. The longer we wait, the more firm our skyr will be. I could be here for a while.
One eternity later.
Well, we are 5 hours in, and just take a look at how much whey has come out of there. It's like this yellowish liquid, but I hope that means our yogurt is just about done. Next, what I'll do is transfer what should be yogurt into a bowl. Time for the moment of truth. Okay, whoa. All right, I guess it looks like yogurt. Oh, super thick now, almost like cheese. Just give this a little mix, and I'll pop it in the fridge to firm up.
Eventually.
Now, I'm no skyr master, but something tells me heating raw milk for 20 hours straight could lead to a questionable tasting product. Turns out that is a questionable tasting product. Very sour. Is it rotten? Is it sour? I don't know, but I do know that for sure this needs honey. Man, there is nothing like homegrown honey right off the tree. The Vikings also like to add walnuts to their skyr, as well as fruit. Let's see if we got any out back. And we'll just add on our palm strawberries. That is one productive tree out there. And our Viking skyr parfait is done. Time to taste our skyr Viking breakfast. Now keep in mind, I will be tasting each of these dishes after I cook them, but at the very end of the video, I will be attempting to row from Scandinavia to England, and then I will have the final epic food challenge. But either way, skyr.
Wait, Max, you don't look like a Viking yet.
Much better. Significantly better with the honey. It's reminiscent of like buttermilk. Personally, I'm not eating this one for enjoyment, but I can see how the Vikings would consume this one, specifically for the protein content and the energy it provides. Let's move on to day two. And day two, we are making Viking barley porridge and something I am extremely excited about, homemade mead. The barley porridge is super simple. To water, we'll just add our barley, some butter, and with that barley cooked, we'll add in our honey, and we'll finish it with cream and let it cook. Let's move on to that mead. And we'll start by adding a whole bunch of water. Mead was a huge part of Viking culture, symbolizing unity and celebration. It's made by fermenting this honey, and it's an iconic alcoholic beverage. So kids, don't try this one at home. So we've heated this up and it has fully combined. Now it's time to add the yeast. Yeast feeds on sugar, allowing the fermentation process to occur, leading to bubbles and alcohol content. And now we'll bottle. And for a little extra flavor and sugars for that yeast to feed on, I'm gonna finish with a few pieces of fruit. This is also gonna really help with the fizziness. And finally, we'll add this stopper to help release pressure and also keep out bacteria. So it turns out it takes 30 days to ferment the mead. We will be saving this for the end of the video, but I do have my delicious looking barley porridge. I never thought I'd say this, but I think I'm a barley guy now. At least mixed with the cream and the honey, it's like oatmeal, but 10 times creamier, sweeter, and that barley is nice and dense, almost like chewy. This is something I could for sure eat for breakfast. Day 3, pickled herring. And I guess that means we gotta catch a fish. And here we have our whole beautiful fresh herring. Vikings spent a huge amount of time on the water, so fish were a massive part of their diet. And what we'll be doing with this is pickling it. So the first step here is to just fillet it, working our way towards the back, following the spine. Next, we'll take these beautiful fillets and just slice them up. And next, we'll make our simple brine. Vinegar, water, sugar, and our pickling spice. So it turns out salt was not naturally occurring in Viking land, so some of these recipes do not include it. It'll be very interesting to see how this sweeter taste profile comes out. Now working in layers, I'll add some dill, onion, some of that beautiful fish, and we'll keep on going. Finishing with that sweet pickling liquid over the top. And we'll let this go for about 5 days. And it has been 5 days. Channeling my inner Viking. Oh, we're good. And this here is our beautiful Viking pickled herring. I don't know why I'm a little bit concerned about this one. That is actually amazing. Sort of reminds me of the pickled herring I used to get in Holland. My mom's from there, so I'd go there quite a bit back in the day. It does have a bit of a
slimy texture to it.
The flavor is like a pickle in fish form. I love it. And right on cue with the fish coming out, we have Tibby. I don't think you should be eating pickled fish. Tibby, scram, get out. Oh, we got both cats. I don't think you guys have seen Boozy yet. This is Tibby's little brother named Boozy. Everyone say hi, Boozy.
Hi, Boozy.
Moving on. Day 4, and it is time for meat. We are making a hearty Viking stew along with the iconic Viking flatbread. And I have to say, there's a surprising amount of marbling in here, given that bison is typically leaner. This is an example of a hearty meal giving Vikings the required energy for their long voyages and raids. With it cubed up, we'll hit it with some salt and black pepper. And next, we'll brown the meat. This is a good example of a meal that even the poorest of Vikings would eat, but even still, it was better tasting and more nutritious than the average person would be eating from other civilizations during historical times. With some nice color on that bison, we'll add in the onions. We'll throw in some parsnips, turnips, and carrots, some red wine, some sage, rosemary, and thyme, and finish with beef broth and some salt. Sophia, do you think this is enough stew for one person here?
You're gonna have to work up a big appetite for that.
Yeah. We'll move on to the flatbread. Wow, that's a lot. The Viking flatbread is called leave and was consumed with pretty much every meal. It's actually super simple to make. Whole wheat flour in, salt, water, then we mix. And that's it for ingredients. And we'll just knead this pretty sticky dough. It's supposed to be this sticky. Needless to say, this is a very simple dough recipe. We'll have to see if it tastes good at all. Now we'll section this out, and we'll roll this out into our mini little flatbreads. Just like so. And we'll throw our leave onto a dry pan. That was anticlimactic. Whoa. No egg, no yeast, literally just flour and water. Let's crack into it. Hot. Wow, it's chewy and a bit dense, but I can see this going incredibly well with that stew. And it has been a few hours, which means our stew should be just about done. And this looks and smells incredible. Let's take a look at that bison. Oh yeah, as you can see, it is super tender at this point. I mean, that is perfection. I'm not gonna lie, that bison tastes exactly like beef, but it is incredible. I mean, the stew is rich. The soup itself, very hearty and flavorful. Let's try it with that freshly made leave. For a piece of bread literally made out of like 2 ingredients, it is quite good and it pairs great with that stew. Day 5, and probably the one I'm most excited for, we have some salted cod. Now the fish is out, you already know that means Tibby's out too. Cod was a staple in the Viking diet, and being salted and cured using this process, it allowed them to take it on long journeys. So this salted cod is roughly a 1-week process, and it's extremely simple to make. All we do is add our salt, nicely covered on both sides. And apparently this stuff could last up to 5 years if treated properly. Now we'll just add this to a cheesecloth and wrap it up tightly. And this tradition of preserving fish dates back to the 9th century, and typically it was left outside by the ocean. We'll see how this works in my fridge. The week is up. Let's see what we got. You can tell it's definitely firmed up a bit, but to me this still looks like raw fish. So it smells very neutral, which is a good sign. And I'll just take some slices. That's like Viking sashimi. I really hope this is edible. It has almost this tacky feel to it. It's definitely very tender. Kind of seems like something you'd eat more out of necessity than out of enjoyment. Meanwhile, Tibby seems very intrigued. Hi, Tibby. Wait, I need to slice more of this cod. Sophia, pass me my axe.
Not that axe.
Oh, that smells so good now. Much better. Just take a nice slice, cured cod. Like it has the texture of good sashimi, but it shouldn't be cod. It's a little fishy. For sustenance in the Viking age, I can totally see it, but for me in 2024, not gonna happen. Day 6, and it is time for one of my all-time favorite foods, gravlocks. Traditionally, this salmon was placed in a hole in the ground, covered with birch bark, and laid in a bath of water, blood from the fish, and seasonings. But the recipe we're doing is a bit more modern. And we'll assemble our cure here of salt and sugar. And Vikings caught these salmon during the summertime. This was their way of preserving them. And I'll also add in some black pepper. We'll place down the dill, salmon skin side down. We'll coat generously with that cure mixture, and top with more of that delicious dill, and wrap tightly. And time to let this sit in the fridge for 3 days. And with our salmon brining, perfect time to let you guys know that if you are interested, the best way to support this channel is through Max Jerky. We have some incredible brand new flavors like our slabs, as well as the meat sticks. Hope you check them out, and let's get back to it. And just like that, it's been 3 days. Remove some of the dill here, and this looks and smells just unbelievable. It is significantly firmer to the touch, but let's slice it up. I'll just take these slices against the grain. As you can see, it just has that nice cured texture all the way through. That right there is the perfect piece of lox. To assemble, we have that freshly made flatbread, a little bit of cream cheese, which they may or may not have had at the time, a few capers, tomato, a touch of smoked salt, a couple onions, and just layering on some of that fresh, thinly sliced gravloks. Viking time period or not, that is the perfect bite. Now this is one I'm actually excited for. Wow, who knew homemade lox was that easy? It is so tender, perfectly seasoned. I mean, it tastes like the real deal. This is one I actually recommend you guys try making at home. It is super easy and tastes amazing. No Viking feast would be complete without a giant lamb leg, so for day 7, this is what we got. Now, huge premium cuts like this would only be reserved for elites and during their massive feasts, so I guess that means today we're eating like kings. I'll start by just scoring the skin to get that flavor deep inside the meat. Now I'll hit it with a bunch of salt, make sure we get both sides, and a whole bunch of black pepper. Now we'll add on this super flavorful paste, garlic, rosemary, thyme, some mustard, balsamic in there, getting all up in those crevices. And they may not have had this back in the day, but I am gonna add on a bit of my coarse rub, just for a little more texture. And time to get this thing on our Viking-sized grill. And you know, we can't forget that apple wood. "45 minutes in, let's check on that color. Oh yeah, that is looking beautiful. It's been about 3 hours and this lamb is done. And we'll just slice her up. And this thing is just perfectly cooked. Because I scored it, you can see all that flavor deep inside that meat. Now before it's time to dive into this delicious looking lamb, we cannot forget, it has been 30 long days and our mead should finally be ready to drink. Throughout the fermentation process, it's just been bubbling away. I have no idea what the alcohol percentage is on this, but either way, we gotta give it a shot. So we'll remove the cap. Whoa, okay. It smells like a malty beer. There's definitely some like citrusy notes, but that smells amazing. You can see all that carbonation, super fine because it's made naturally. It's time we gave this lamb a shot. So much flavor on the outside. I would happily be a Viking if it meant I could eat this every day. And washing it down with my first taste of our 30-day mead, with the horn coming straight off of Daisy the cow. Whoa, it's reminiscent of beer in taste, but it is significantly stronger. This has got to be at least 20% ABV. Maybe more, I'm not sure. By zero means is it sweet anymore. It is fully taken on that alcoholic taste. I wouldn't say I would drink this for enjoyment, but if I just finished a massive, violent Viking battle, I can see myself having a couple of these. Now it is finally time to find out if I have what it takes to row just like a Viking did from their hometown all the way to England. Keep going, boys. We're just about an hour in. Not gonna lie, I'm feeling very tired. But we gotta keep going. We got gold and silver to plunder, land and women and children to defend. Turkey. I need turkey. Gotta be at least, I don't know, 3/4 of the way to England.
Oh no, Max.
Gordon?
You've got issues.
Is that you?
3, 2, 1.
That was more cardio than I've probably done in about 3 years. Pretty jacked right now, but one thing I know for sure is it's time to eat.
Max, how far do you think you went?
At least 85% of the way to England.
All right, you burned 1,377 calories and traveled 20 miles.
How far did I have to travel to get to England?
You had to travel 600 miles to reach England.
Well, we didn't make it to England, but we do get to feast. In front of me, I have a 7-day Viking feast. Let's see if I can eat it all.
Nom. Nom.
This is one of those weird mukbangs. Jibby? No, wait, Jibby. Guys, I'm getting close to my limit here. Well guys, I am spent. The tallies are in and I just consumed a very unimpressive 1,500 calories. Honestly, at this point, I don't know if I have what it takes to be a true Viking. Really hope you guys enjoyed the video and we'll see you next time.